Hey everybody, Chris here again. Welcome back to the channel. Always good to have you with us. So today, we're continuing the DOSemmber theme with another DOSemmber video. And today, I'm focused once again on retro computing on a budget. In the past, we've talked about retro computing on a Dell Dimension 2400, which I consider to be a budget retro computer. However, as I search eBay, it seems that they are getting harder to find. So I found another alternative. In this case, it happens to be a thin client. So today, I'm going to take you through how I set up this thin client to run DOS and Windows 3.1. There's also other great videos on the web. For example, there's Phil's Computer Lab, and Phil has done something very similar to that. My setup is a little bit different, but basically it'll get us to the same place. So let's definitely have a look. Before we jump in, there's one more thing I want to say. This particular HP Compaq thin client was fairly economical. It's $28 or so when I bought it on eBay. I recently found a T5700, which is very similar spec, for less. So we'll also be testing one of those out in the near future in probably a retro short. So look forward to that too. Okay, let's get started. So to guide me with the setup, I've actually written a setup script, and I will provide a link in the video description below to my Git repository that has these setup instructions. So as you see me execute here on the computer, these will be the steps that I'm following today. For preconditions, we need to check some of our BIOS settings to make sure they are set the way that we need for this installation. To start, I'm going to arrow down 3 times to integrated peripherals and press enter. And I want to ensure that integrated audio, network controller, USB controller, USB keyboard support, and USB mouse support are all enabled. If not, you can press enter and change the selection and then press enter to accept. Once all of these are set, press the escape key and we'll be set there. From there, I'm going to arrow up 1 time to go to the advanced BIOS features. And I want to make sure that my first boot device is USB and my second boot device is ATA flash. Once set, I can press escape and then arrow over to save and exit setup, press enter, press Y, and then press enter to save settings. The next thing we're going to do is partition and format the hard disk. And the easiest way to do this, I believe, is going to be to create a bootable USB stick. You see, with the thin client, you don't have any floppy drives or any CD-ROM drives. And we could definitely hook up an external one, but not everybody has one. And most people do have a USB stick. Hence, my directions are going to show you how to set this up using a USB stick. So some pre-work to get that disk ready. We need to create a bootable USB thumb drive. And to do that, we're going to use a program called UNetBootIN. And you can see the link over here on the right for that. If you go to the website, you can click download and you'll be all set there. And also we need a DOS 622 floppy image, and this link will take you there. Notice this is a floppy image and not an ISO, so that is a distinction. From there, insert a USB stick into your computer. Blank would be best. Then we can run this UNetBootIN program, and I've already downloaded it. It's located here. And I'm going to come down here and change this radio button to disk image, change ISO to floppy, navigate to downloads, find that DOS 622 image file, open it, click OK, and there you have it. We can now remove the USB drive and boot the computer. Perfect. With our USB stick all ready to go, let's go ahead and put it into the thin client and start up. After we insert the USB stick into the thin client and start it up, you'll be greeted with this UNet boot in screen. And you can wait the 10 seconds for the default option to load, or you can press the return key. Either way is fine. From here, MS-DOS will boot, and we can proceed to do some partition work. I'm going to load fdisk. And from there, I'm going to change the current fixed drive. We need to change to drive 2, which is the internal drive on the system. Drive 1 happens to be the USB stick that we booted with. And what I want to do is get rid of any old partitions on this. So I can hit 4 to display partition information, and we can see we have one DOS partition. So I'm going to hit escape, and 3 to delete, 1 to delete the primary DOS partition, enter to select 1, enter to press and not select any volume label, and then Y to say that we're sure. And from there, the primary DOS partition is deleted. I'm going to press escape and escape again and restart the system. Now there's a reason that I'm not going to use the fdisk GUI to create a partition. And that's because you cannot use fdisk from the GUI and take a partition on a secondary disk and make it active. As such, we're going to use command line fdisk for the remainder of this exercise. Once again, we're booting with the USB stick. And we can do an fdisk/status, which will show us that disk 2 is 956 megabytes. So from here, I can say fdisk2 /PRI for primary DOS partition and the size, 956. And now if I do an fdisk status, I have an active partition on disk 2. Perfect. From here we can reboot, and we will have our partition. After the reboot, it's now time to format the disk. So we can type format :/Q/U/S. Quick format, unconditional, and transfer system files. Enter and Y. And it'll say we can't unformat this since it's an invalid format. That's fine. We'll say Y. And from there, it will format the disk. We'll press enter to not give a volume label. And now if we go to drive C, we can see we have a formatted disk. Now with a little bit of luck, we can remove the USB stick and we can boot. And lo and behold, we have a problem. The previous user of the system, in this case it was me, installed a boot utility or something else in the master boot record. And as such, it's not booting into MS-DOS. We need to get rid of this. How can we do it? Well, unfortunately, you can't use MS-DOS 622 fdisk because you can't alter anything other than the first disk MBR, and we are booting off a USB stick to run fdisk. What can we do? Well, fortunately, we can repeat the earlier procedure with UNet boot in, and as opposed to using a DOS 622 boot image, we can use a Windows 95B boot image and use fdisk from that to fix this situation. So we're back again, and this time, instead of MS-DOS, we have Windows 95. Now what we can do is run an fdisk/status, and we'll see that we have our secondary disk there. And what we can do now is an fdisk/cmbr -2, since it's disk 2 that we want to change. And now our master boot record should be fixed. Let's see. I'm going to remove the USB stick and restart the machine. And lo and behold, we boot right into MS-DOS. Perfect. So the next thing we're going to do is take this flash drive and load some goodies onto it so that we can have some installers and other files that we want to install on the thin client. To do this, we're going to use a program called Rufus, and we're going to go download that. We're also going to be using xxcopy, And we're going to be using a variety of drivers for Windows 3.1.1 as well as for DOS. So I'm actually going to skip ahead, and maybe I should structure my procedure differently. But I'm going to go ahead and download everything and have it all at once. So moving on, the first thing we'll grab is Rufus from SourceForge. So I'll download that. Also going to download XX Copy 16. Also going to download some drivers for the network card. And of late, I have found that you actually have to copy the file address directly into Chrome. This seems to be a new Chrome thing I should probably turn off. So I just went ahead and copied this link and pasted it again. There you have it. Also need to download TCP32B. And that's going to be how we get TCP/IP support in Windows 3.1. That's downloading, twice in fact. From there, we're going to download Windows video drivers for that Rage XL card. And these aren't a perfect match, but they work quite well, actually. Also going to download a speaker MIDI driver. I bet you can't wait to hear that. But basically, since there's no MIDI support for these sound cards, we're going to use a PC speaker driver written by this individual at the Turkeys For Me website. Great source for Win 3.1 drivers for obscure products. And from there, we need some audio drivers, so I'll download the VIA audio drivers. That'll give me DOS driver support. And then this VM FM TSR to get FM synth support in DOS. And finally, we're going to download this little awesome tool who I can't thank Jace Fox enough. If you're watching the video, thank you. And this particular tool allows everything to be possible under DOS for having DOS sound. So we will download that. Perfect. So back to the procedure. We have downloaded Rufus. The USB stick is in the computer. Let's go ahead and launch Rufus. So I am going to format my USB drive. I want it to boot FreeDOS. And that's it. Click Start. And OK. Great. I'm going to close Rufus. Now I'm going to go to Drive I. And all of this free space I can use to copy whatever I'd like. So I do have a variety of installers I'd like to drag over, and that includes Windows 3.1.1, After Dark for Windows 3.1.1 or 3.1, MS-DOS, and WinZip. So we can go ahead and copy that and go back to Drive I and paste it. With install copied over, now we want to copy all of our drivers over to this USB thumb drive. So let's go to the Downloads directory. And let's just start unzipping things. And you can see I'm just going one by one and unzipping all of the zip files. And so I don't confuse myself, I am now going to delete them. Let's also delete this TCP32B that I downloaded that I didn't need it. I downloaded it twice. And let's unzip this SMI-DIDR, which is our which is our MIDI drivers for the PC speaker. And this one you actually have to unzip twice. If we go into the folder, it's also zipped. Let's just go ahead and extract that. And after we extract that, we can delete the zip file. We can go up a layer and also delete the 7-zip file. So with that out of the way, we're ready to actually copy everything to the USB stick. So I'll just grab everything for now, and we'll bring it over to Drive I and paste everything that we downloaded into this install directory. And we're going to make one little tweak after we do this. And that little tweak is going to involve taking xxcopy and copying it to the root of the USB drive. And you can see I actually already have it there, but let's pretend it wasn't there. And now by having that there, it will make it easier to actually perform the installation and copying a file, since we're going to boot directly into DOS, and trying to copy directories will be a lot easier if we can use xxcopy as opposed to copying a directory at a time. Perfect. So with this, our boot image is ready to go, and we can start copying these installers to the thin client. So with the USB flash drive prepared, we can go ahead and put it into the thin client. And from there, we can do a restart, and it will boot into FreeDOS. And here we can see we've booted into FreeDOS. We can do a dir, and we'll see some files there on our USB drive, including the goodies under the install directory. Let's go ahead and copy that install directory to the hard disk, which happens to be drive D, because once again, we are booted to drive C from the thumb drive. So to do that, we can type the following: xxcopy 16 install /s d:. At long last, we can see that the file copy is complete with an exit code of 0, so no errors. At this point, we can remove the USB stick from the thin client and issue a Control-Alt-Delete to reboot. Now we're going to configure Sound for DOS. And the first thing we have to do is run the VIA SB CFG utility. So I'll go ahead and change into the directory where that is and run it. And it will set settings for us, allowing the chip to be enabled. Now we can go ahead and install the VIA sound drivers, which can be found in the 68mu22ob directory. And I just so happened to nest it when I unzipped it. So we'll go in another layer and then go to the DOS directory, and we'll type install. The chip will be detected. We can proceed with the settings shown and press enter. Press any key to modify autoexec.bat. And now it's time to reboot the system, but not quite yet. So with that complete, let's go ahead and copy that VIA SBCFG directory to the same location as the installed audio drivers. So I'm going to cd into VIA SBC ~1 and copy, we'll do a dir, copy the VIA SBCFG.com utility to VIA audio. Great. And I also want to do the same thing for the VIA FMTSR program. So we can cd into VIA FMTSR dir. We can just copy that file to the VIA audio directory. And with that, we now have everything in that VIA audio directory. Let's now go ahead and modify autoexec.bat and add above VIA audio a call to VIA audio, VIA SBCFG, and then below that we can go ahead and add the FM driver, which will be C:\VIA audio, VIA FMTSR. So with that, sound should be all configured. Let's go ahead and exit, save, and reboot. And on reboot, we can see the VIA SBCFG utility, the FMTSR, and VIA audio have all loaded, and we are now set for DOS gaming or other applications, which we will show here before too long. Configuring Windows for Workgroups 3.11. First of all, important note, please make sure that you download the network card drivers that I indicated above. Do not download a newer version of those drivers. They are buggy and they will result in your network card being disabled when you go to plug in a cord, which is a problem. So definitely suggest you download the drivers that I suggested above. All right. The first thing we're going to do is make a directory called TCP32B and copy the TCP32B executable to that directory. Then we're going to change into that directory and run TCP32B to extract it. We're going to need this for TCP IP support in Windows 3.11. The next thing we're going to do is modify config sys and add a line like you see here. This ensures that we have a XMS memory driver and thus XMS memory available for installing Windows for Workgroups 3.11. While not necessarily required, in some cases I have had trouble installing it without this available. From there we can exit and reboot to activate that driver. Now before we install Windows for Workgroups 3.11, we want to make sure we have drivers in the right places. You want to make sure that your LAN drivers are in a directory like LAN, or at least somewhere where you know they are. And also the PC speaker MIDI drivers, make sure that you can find those as well. That'll be important as we go through the Windows for Workgroups 3.11 setup process. So I'm going to go ahead and change into the install directory and type setup. We'll go ahead and press enter to continue. C for custom. Enter for C:\Windows. Enter to accept defaults. Go ahead and put your name in and press enter or click continue. Enter again or click continue. I usually uncheck setup printers and applications on hard disk and then continue. All the defaults are fine, so I just continue here. For network, we can click the Networks button and then choose Install Microsoft Windows Network and click OK. Then click this Advanced button. For drivers, click Add Adapter, navigate to Unlisted or Updated Network Adapter, and then we're going to browse to that C:\LAN, and mine is nested, so I'm going to go LAN again, and then Win311. And then OK. OK again. If your card options do not list a VIA VT6102 RINE 2 adapter, you've got the wrong drivers and they will probably be buggy. So go and find the right drivers and continue. We'll click OK to choose that. Then we want to add a protocol, unlisted or updated. We're going to navigate to C:\TCP32B. Click OK. OK again. And there's our selection for TCP/IP 32.3.11b. Click OK there, and now we'll have TCP/IP support. Then click Close and continue. OK here, you're free to change the username or computer name if you desire. I'm leaving the defaults. We'll click Enable Automatic DHCP Configuration and then Yes, and then OK. We'll let Windows Setup make all modifications for us. OK. We'll skip the tutorial, and from there we can return to MS-DOS. Perfect. At this point, I'll go ahead and restart the computer. And the next thing we're going to do is install video drivers. To do that, I'll run W313098. And we'll press enter here. Enter again, enter again. Enter to install, and enter to install again. Press the any key, enter for that directory, enter for that directory, and it will now install. Lots of decisions to make, guys. Then press the any key, and press escape. And now we can run Windows by typing Win and enter. When prompted for a password, just press enter, and then Y to create a password file, and enter again. Now we can launch the ATI desktop. And the first thing we want to do is turn off our power management features because DPMS will actually cause the monitor to go to sleep and never wake up again, probably due to the fact that these video drivers are not a perfect match. So uncheck that and check OK. And next we can launch this Flex Desk Plus, and we can change our colors to a higher color count and our screen size to a higher resolution. And I also like small fonts, so we can come into Advanced, uncheck Automatic Environment and change that to small font. Click OK, OK again, and restart Windows. Isn't that nice? Let's go ahead and make our program manager a little bigger, and maybe we can cascade some windows here. With that complete, let's install our sound drivers. To do that, we can go to Main, Control Panel, Drivers. Just click OK if you get that error message. Add, Creative Labs Sound Blaster 1.5. And then from there you can browse to your Windows 3.1 installation files directory or put in disk 5. Click OK. Choose port 220 and interrupt 5. And then click OK. Done. We can go ahead and restart. Next up, we'll install some PC speaker MIDI drivers since there aren't any MIDI drivers for this particular machine for Windows 3.11. So we can go to Control Panel, go to the drivers once again, and then go to Add, Unlisted or Updated Driver this time, and navigate to that SMIDIDR3 directory. And from there, we can navigate into this subdirectory because I have it nested a couple of times, as you can see, and click OK, and then OK again, and it will find the Speaker MIDI 2016 driver. Click OK, and restart now. So with the sound drivers installed, let's go ahead and install an application or two. I'll navigate to File Manager, and I did copy over the After Dark installer. Ah, very nice. A little fast. But if we adjust things a little bit, we can see that it slows down at least a little, but we have sound and we have some nice video. I'd like to install a few more games, so I've mapped my Raspberry Pi to drive Z. And if we go on the Pi, there should be a DOS Games directory, I believe, or a Games directory. And we can drag over something like a friendly game like Duke Nukem 3D. And in addition to installing that, let's also install Chips Challenge for Windows. So I'm going to go to my Windows Entertainment Pack directory here, choose Pack 4, and run that setup. Now, one thing I neglected to do earlier was to actually set up the MIDI mapper to map our PC speaker MIDI driver to our MIDI settings. So I'm going to go back into Control Panel, go to the MIDI mapper, and create a new profile. We'll call it Speaker. And for each channel, we need to map in this SMIDI 2016 option. Once done, we can click OK, and then yes to save, and that's our new default choice. So with that, let's launch Chips Challenge. And make sure our sound effects are turned on. And get ready, here comes PC speaker MIDI sound. Which, to be perfectly honest with you, is not as terrible as I thought it would be. It's not great, but it's not terrible. Now, this isn't the world's best sound, but it's not bad. I've actually heard worse PCI sound card based FM music. So this isn't too terrible. And I'm not a big proponent of this game, but you can see that it plays pretty smoothly. So that ATI Rage XL does come through, and the sound is there. So there you have it. So there it is. the HP Compaq T5700 thin client running MS-DOS and Windows 3.11 as good as it can. Anyway, that's what I had for you today. Hope you enjoyed the video, and happy DOSemmber. Hope you're having a good month of December and a good holiday season. Definitely subscribe to the channel, ring that notification bell, and you'll be notified when new videos are available. If you like the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If not, you know what to do, give it a thumbs down. That's what we have for you today, and I can't wait to see you until next time. Bye-bye.